Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing?
Good, good. I mean, trying to do the best out of this Sunday and this quarantine we got going on.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
I wanted to start today's conversation, brother, just by saying thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today.
Oh, you're welcome. I appreciate it. Pleasure's mine.
Um, I go by Ronick. I started KrylonTalk late this year. The reason why I started KrylonTalk is I just like to inform the new generation or people that are thinking about starting to paint graffiti, or even people that just like graffiti in general. I like to inform them about people that have been here before then.
Sure.
We got pioneers to this. We got people like yourself that are established and really enjoy and love doing graffiti.
Yeah, man.
And I also try to inform people that graffiti started with certain utensils. Like stuff that it's available now wasn't available back then in the late '80s, early '80s. So I want to start today, if it was possible, if we could start by what year you started writing and what utensils did you use when you started.
Well, when I first started out tagging, and I got into graffiti through skateboarding. This would have been about 87, 88. And, started out with unis and Sharpies and, Krylon. I mean, I grew up on Krylon.
Yeah.
It's funny when you reached out to me and you said KrylonTalk, my first thought was, I miss Krylon. I really do. If I'm going to use any American paint now, it's usually Rust-Oleum. But like you said earlier, with all of the tools that we have at our disposal, I grew up on Krylon. And I think, when it comes to what could be compared to Krylon today, maybe Clash paint. But
Okay.
for the most part, it was high pressure. And I mean, when I started out, you took tips off household appliances, or cleaners. I went to the art store and stole caps. We didn't have, if we had any caps, which would come later, or at least for me to have access to those, would be New York Fats, New York Thins, and then later came German caps. But everything, I mean, my first experience with doing graffiti was learning how to paint with Krylon with the stock cap. And that's just how you learned. You had to learn how to do a piece with a stock cap. And
Definitely.
So you had to learn can control, and you had to move fast. If not, you dripped, and drips were considered whack. So,
Can you share a little bit about your thoughts on how Krylon wasn't really for graffiti? Like the actual corporate itself didn't really want to endorse and the graffiti, even though Krylon had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, Krylon didn't want anything to do with graffiti, and it's funny because I'm sure we made up, 75% of their clientele. Now, whether or not we paid for it, that's a different story. But nevertheless, Krylon was always anti-graffiti. And I remember I used Krylon all the way up till 2007, 2008, when they switched the valve system and the nozzle. They went to a fan tip. By that time, the quality had started to go downhill a little bit. I noticed that because there were certain colors that Krylon made that were they were too thin. And then there were other ones like True Blue and, of course, Ultra Flat Black, Semi-Flat Black, Terracotta. There were ones that were like opaque, solid colors that were always my go-to. But by that time, when they transitioned to a fan cap, I remember calling Krylon and speaking to customer service because I ain't gonna lie, man, I was pissed. I was like, what do you mean? You changed everything, And it's like, yeah, they said, what I found out later is, they moved production, I believe, to Mexico, and they really did it to cut costs. And that's why they switched to the fan cap. And there are good, tagging with a fan cap is great, but I don't really use Krylon anymore. I mean, now we're so spoiled with, you know, MTN and German Montana and Luke colors and so forth that, you know, like I said, if I use, I still think some of the best paint today in the States is probably Rust-Oleum, just because it can withstand the elements. You know, as you know, it's a favorite among train painters. It holds up. It's meant for metal. And so, yeah, I was really disappointed when Krylon did that, man. I mean, that changed everything for me. I mean, I had already tried like some fancy paint, German Montana and stuff like that, but I was used to Krylon, man. I mean, I had been using Krylon for a long time up until that point. And so when they did that, that kind of changed everything. And really what I think they did is they shot themselves in the foot, because um, they opened the market up for all the European paint to come in. And, you know, the Europeans were way ahead of us when it came to color palettes, low pressure, etc. And so really they kind of screwed themselves. But I don't really know many cats that paint with Krylon anymore. I'm sure there's some. But yes, that was my go-to brand for a long time. I miss it. I really do.
Did you have a favorite color with the old school Krylon?
I think one of my favorite colors was probably True Blue. It's just
True
that,
blue.
you know, because I used to do a lot of pieces with True Blue as an outline, and then of course later came the terracotta, and I loved watermelon, man. I loved watermelon.
Mm.
I couldn't, but you know, by the time that I was getting into graffiti, which would have been around 1990, it was really hard to get jungle green, icy grape at the stores where I went. We used to go to Hobby Lobby and push carts, you know, or we would know someone that would work there and hook us up. But for the most part, I mean, I started out on Krylon and a lot of automotive paint, you know, and yeah, those were good days.
Can you share a little bit about how you took the transition? Because I believe Montana, if I'm not mistaken, Montana was the very first like high-end can that came in.
Mm-hmm.
If you could share a little bit about your thoughts, how did you take the transition? Like, were you up for it? Like excited for it, or was it just more like, I guess?
Well, when I remember when I first, I think the first two brands, the first three brands I saw were Belton, German Montana, and then MTN Hardcore, and I was Krylon true, you know, through and through. I tried it. I was like, yeah, whatever, but I was so accustomed to using Krylon, and so the first can that I'd say I can honestly try was probably German Montana, and then later the hardcore and the alien cans, and you know, and that was all due to Neon BA Crew Neon. You know, Neon really is the one that established all the markets in the United States for MTN. Um, you know, and he came to a couple of graph jams that we had in San Antonio, clog caps. My boy Suffer used to put that on. And I remember he's selling out of the trunk of his car, you know, I think it was $4 a can at that time, maybe
Okay.
cheaper. And we used it up. And so I would say that transition for me probably happened around 2008. And I gravitated more towards MTN just because I liked, one, you know, Neon's a friend of mine, and they were definitely supporting the scene, but really it was also the paint. I liked the way it handled. And, you know, I just stuck with it. And these days, you know, I would say probably my go-to brands are German Montana, MTN, and Loop. You know, I like high pressure cans. I mean, I grew up on high pressure. You know, I always, you know, a lot of the younger generation here in Austin, you know, I always tell them, I say, learn high pressure cans first, because once you go to low pressure, it's like butter. You know what I mean? If you learn on a low pressure can and you never learn on a high pressure can, you're limiting yourself. You know, I was taught to be flexible. You know, there's going to come a time where you might go to a different city or country, and you're going to have to use the brand of paint they have. So once again, it comes down to can control. You know.
Definitely, definitely. Is there something that you could share about when it comes to tags? Do you have like a favorite like marker or something that you use coming up and reading that you enjoyed, or is it just anything that comes up?
Well, I'm a Sharpie head. You know, I use Sharpie for my drawings. I like the wide Sharpie. Later on, of course, came Crink. I really like to Crink a lot. I use Crink on a lot of canvases and also, of course, you know, on the street sometimes. But nevertheless, yeah, I would say probably these days, probably Sharpie and Crink. You know, I mean, I love pilots. I like pilots a lot. I just got me I got like a 24 pack of pilot silvers. I'm so happy. The medium tips, you know, and you know, but yeah, you know, I mean, all of that is necessary in the arsenal. You know, the markers, the paint, you know, black booking. You know, that's just how I was taught. I mean, you know, growing up in Austin, you know, back then we only had two books, and that was spray can art and subway art. Maybe I could get a copy of IGT Times, a Xerox copy, but nevertheless, that was what we had. And of course, in the beginning, I gravitated to East Coast styles. But early 91, I went out to the Bay Area and I was exposed to Bay Area wild style. And man, I was blown away because it just seems like the West Coast has really tried hard to separate themselves and develop their own style, you know, LA and Bay Area. And the stuff that they were doing at the time just blew my mind. I'd never seen wild style like that, you know, because for me, I always wanted to do wild style. I like tags, I like throwies, but I like piecing. And when it came to piecing, I wanted to learn wild style. And but
for anybody that's tapping in that might not know what a wild style is or a piece is, would you mind sharing a little bit of what a wild style and a piece is?
I just always tell people it's the stuff you can't read. But no, man, no, wild style really, you know, to me was it was impressed upon me that that's kind of really the apex of piecing, you know, like being able to come up with these crazy styles, but yet still hold the strength of each letter, you know, and you know, I think that I know there's still a lot of people these days that are doing wild style because, as you know, everything changes, graffiti changes. But like even to this day, I love seeing a good wild style burner, and there's still cats that are just out there killing it, you know, and carrying on the tradition of really complex, colorful lettering. You know, and that's kind of what I think of wild style. I mean, that's really what I think of graffiti. You know, graffiti is really stylized topography. You know what I mean?
Yes.
No matter if it's a straight letter, a semi-wild style, or wild style, you know, it's taking it's taking a shape and shifting it and adding color to it, and more importantly, style. You know, and that's what graffiti is to me. It's, you know, it's about, like I always say, man, I'm on this style quest. Like I'm never satisfied with what I paint because there's endless possibilities, you know, regardless of what style you're into at the moment. I mean, it's just, that's the beauty of graffiti, you know, and life. It's like, it just keeps going. I mean, there's no plateaus, you know. I'll never stop learning.
You're definitely right about that. The creativity also, it's limitless. You could go to as far as you can go.
That's right. And then you see a lot of these younger cats coming in and they're just killing it. I mean, you know, it's really cool to see a lot of these younger generations bring new styles to the table, you know. You know, whether some of them are old recycled 70 styles or the new 2020 twist to it, but that's the beauty of it. You know, it's kind of like here's the blueprint and you add your style to it to elevate it to the next level. You know, I'm influenced by a lot of styles, but at the same time, I need to add my style to that because that's what continues that style. You know, none of this copy and paste stuff. You know what I mean? You gotta develop your style, and I think that's where a lot of the hard work comes in. You know, it never ends. You know, I always say I'm always good as my last piece. You know,
Definitely, that's definitely a great way to put it. You being from Austin, can you share a little bit about the Austin graffiti scene and the development of it and what it means to be part of the Austin graffiti scene?
well, the Austin graffiti scene has always been pretty small. You know, there's these days, you know, you have older cats that have been doing it for a long time. You got a lot of the younger kids that are coming in, and a lot of them are hitting the streets. You know, some of them are learning how to piece. Um, but you know, our history really starts in 1984, and that would be with a writer by the name of Scam Supreme King Al Martinez. That was his tag. That's what it stood for, and that was my mentor and my friend. And unfortunately, we lost him in '94, but his legend lives on today. And Scam is credited as being the godfather of Austin graffiti art. Later, he would go on to partner up with a guy that wrote Kane, Kane, and they pretty much developed the first generation of Austin graffiti. Scam was from Jersey originally, so he brought those East Coast styles. Kane, you know, at that time, you know, that was kind of like that's when hip hop was going mainstream. You know, you had Run DMC, you had the breakdance and the DJ and the rapping, you know, and the graffiti. And those guys really kind of laid the foundation. I didn't meet Scam till 1990. And that's when I kind of credit myself starting to learn how to piece. Because that's what I always wanted to do. Back then it was really underground, man. You had to be in that circle, you know. And I was skateboarding, so I would skate ditches and stuff, and I would see this graffiti. And I already, you know, I mean, my first exposure to graffiti was Beach Street, you know, in the movie. And I was like, man, I want to do that. But, you know, we don't have subways here. So a lot of the graffiti was done on rooftops. It was done in ditches and stuff like that. And I would see it while I was skateboarding. So by the time I met Scam, I already knew who he was. I'd seen his artwork. And Scam showed me the basics of creating. He gave me an outline, and he showed me the basics of creating a graffiti piece. And he only showed me once. He was like, I ain't holding your hand, man. You got to put in the work. And I've been doing it ever since. So a lot of the first generation died out around 89, 90 because of the gangbanging. And I just wanted to paint. You know what I'm saying? So in a lot of ways, it was a double-edged sword. It was like I didn't really have many people to paint with, but I had the whole city to paint, and that's what I did. And I started on the streets, you know. And I left to the Bay, 92, 94. I came back in 94, and I met a writer by the name of Saint who had come from Albuquerque. And we started MBK Crew, No Boundaries Crew, which is still active to this day. And MBK is pretty much credited as second generation. And I think what really put MBK on the map was Paint Lewis 97, when 97 and 98, but especially 97. And people were like, what? There's graffiti in Austin. And we started to get, you know, outside of Texas, outside of Austin, and we would go to other cities and we'd link up with other writers, and you know, we'd paint, and that's what we did. Back then, you know, you had magazines, but if you were in the magazine, if you were lucky enough to get your piece in the magazine, man, that was like winning an Academy Award. You know, we traded flicks through the mail. You know, internet was just starting out. I remember seeing Art Crimes, but for the most part, it was very, you know, I mean, to meet another writer in another city was like, it was a big deal, you know, because the scene was small. And, you know, later would come the third generation with writers like Gomer and Fix and Habits and Pause and Cues. And, you know, those three generations pretty much cemented the foundation for what we have today. A lot of what we have today, I'd say that's more popular, is probably street art. But at the same time, you know, as you know, graph writers have been doing productions for a long time. And so, you know, I always say street art came from graffiti, you know. Graffiti is like the mothership. You know, without graffiti, there would be no street art. And, you know, we do have some cats here that are putting in work, but for the most part, it's a small scene, you know. But in a nutshell, that's Austin graffiti history. I mean, that's up till at least 2004. But we're still doing it. We're still doing it. I travel a lot. That's what I do. I travel everywhere. I mean, I just got done painting today. So I paint at least once or twice a week. And I'm just about giving back to the youngsters, man. You know, I try to pass on what was given to me and try to keep the culture alive. You know, I come from the culture. I don't come from the hype. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
You know, I mean, like I said, I'm only as good as my last piece, you know?
Can can you share a little bit about what it feels to travel? You know, as far as you travel to do what you love. You know, it started in the street, and to see it become what it's become. Where like now you work with big name companies, etc. Is there anything you could share about that feeling?
You know, actually, it's kind of weird, man, because for at least 24 years practicing graffiti in Austin, you know, and we were looked down upon. Um, People did not like what we were doing. We used to get the cops caught. You know, let's say we're doing a mural, you know, in the daytime. You know, chances are the cops would come by and then harass us. So for at least 24 years in Austin, you know, we weren't well liked. Let's just say that. And we played both sides of the fence. You know, we'd bomb at night and we'd paint during the day, do murals during the day. Um, and you know, it was, we didn't really care though, because we loved what we were doing and we kept doing it. And now, fast forward to now, where graffiti is kind of graffiti's mainstream in a lot of ways, and street art's real popular, and you know, it's weird. I mean, it was weird at first. I mean, I remember when the mayor back in 2004 of Austin bought one of my canvases, and I was like, what? You know, the mayor, and it was an art show, and he was like, no, I really like graffiti. And it really shocked me because, like I said, we came from the culture aspect. We came from the underground aspect of it. You know, we wanted you to see our pieces. We just didn't want you to see our faces. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And really, we weren't painting for the public. We were painting for the other writers and or ourselves or a crew. And so now, you know, I always say when something is underground and becomes mainstream, it loses a lot of its roots. I feel like, you know, it can be very commercialized. It can be kind of played out, but there are people in this culture that have been around from day one, much longer than me, and that are still, you know, holding it down. And I think that it's like anything in life. Life moves in cycles, you know, and so I think it is a responsibility for older writers to kind of, you know, school the youngsters. But, you know, at the same time, there ain't no graffiti police, and I'm too busy painting to be worrying about what other people are doing. But yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird at times. Like, I mean, I just painted a room out in the suburbs for this kid and their family. Like, they love graffiti. It's like a gated community and shit. And you know, and I thought it was pretty cool, man. You know why I thought
yeah,
it was cool? Because by the time I was done, the kid was happy. And that's really why I was there. I was there to do a job and make the kid happy. And you know what? If that kid grows up looking at graffiti art, more power to him, man. You know? And that's what we need. We need more of the you know, the boys and girls picking up a can and painting. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going to keep the culture and the art form alive, is the next generation, you know?
definitely. And you're definitely right about that. And another subject I wanted to touch is on the same subject, kind of, is when we have to deal with when it comes to like crew beef, or you have people taking graffiti to more of the tag making aspect of it. Can you share a little bit about your take on that?
Well, you know, we had some minor tag banging here, nothing like LA or anything like that, and you know, but at the same time, you know, man, I say this, man, I'm older now, man. I've been through that. I mean, we used to battle. That's how we handled beef, and you know what? A lot of times, you know, we'd squab it out, but I stay out of the politics, man. I mean, I'm in several crews, probably too many, but you know, my mother crews MBK, you know, and we've all known each other for a long time, and if there's beef, we handle it. You know, like I said, the scene's small here. There's other crews here. We try to respect each other's space. Um, Some of us may not all get along, but you know, it's a respect thing. You know, I just do. I just do what I need to do, man. I paint. You know, I have a saying here. You know, there's a saying here. You know, shut up and paint. Let your piece do the talking. You know,
Yeah.
and if you got beef, battle, handle it. If you're whack, go home and practice. You know, I mean, that's how it was, man. You know, the first generation cats, man, they were. I thought they were mean, man, but really, what it was tough love, man. Because you know they call you out. They'd say, you know, your style's whack, man. Like you need to go home and practice. And you either practiced or you quit. It's that simple. I mean, you know, the world can be a cold place sometimes, but you know what? You're bringing your style to the table, and ultimately, that's what it's about. It's about your style, and you better not bite and copy. And if you do, you better add your style to it and develop off of that style. You know, I mean, these were the things I was brought up with. Nowadays, all that seems like lost and dinosaur and all that. But, you know, man, I don't come from a cut and paste generation, you know. And when it comes to beef, handle it. And be careful what you say online because you might get popped in the jaw or worse, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right about that. It's just my perspective of me doing it all the years that I've done it. I just feel like, you know, it would be cool if we could emphasize more of the battle aspect, you know, because I've seen cats that, you know, they got some type of beef and it escalates to something much bigger than
Yeah.
what it should be. Or there's cats that, you know, they don't even believe in beefing. So they're beefing out here just because they want a thrill.
Sure, sure.
And it gets a little out of hand sometimes. But yeah, you're definitely right.
Yeah, I mean, graffiti definitely attracts a tough crowd. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I always say graffiti's street art's like a kiss on a cheek, and graffiti's like a punch in the mouth. And if you can't hang, don't join. I mean, basically, you know, it's like I know what you mean. There's a million different aspects of that. You know, there's the
Yeah.
beef seekers, there's the drama kings, all that stuff. But ultimately, you know, I was thinking about this earlier before the interview, and I was like, man, a lot of times I think graffiti shoots itself in the foot. You know, it's like here we are, we're supposed to be this subculture, and you know, we're all about this and that, but yet we're beefing amongst each other. And I understand not everybody gets along, but really, man, I'm just gonna say it. You know, and the same goes for society today. We're so busy beefing with each other, we're beefing with the wrong people. We need to be beefing with the damn government. You know what I'm saying? Because
Definitely.
if we're supposed to be practitioners of this art form, then we need to be elevating it to the next level instead of like squabbing over art jobs and who's this and that and you know screw you and your crew. Like screw all that, man. You know, get out there and just paint. You know, I mean, that's really what it boils down to. For me, it comes down to painting. You know, I don't have time to talk politics, man. I can tell you my opinion, but really, who cares? You know
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying?
totally understand.
Who really cares? I mean, I've met a lot of knuckleheads in graffiti, but you know what? That's just part of graffiti, man. You know, I've been a knucklehead. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But I'm not going to go cross someone out. I mean, I'd rather battle. But you know,
definitely.
nobody ever really battles anymore. You know what I'm saying? But I
Yeah,
like battling. I mean, that's how. I'll tell you what. I got better in graffiti by bombing and battling, and then eventually traveling. And these days, I try to link up with like-minded writers that are good cats, have ill styles, because they influence me, man. You know, like, and
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Instead of fighting with one another, we could be influencing one another. You know.
yeah. You're
But
definitely
whatever, you
right
know how
about
the
that.
world works, you know? You just keep painting, man.
Definitely. There's two terms that have been around in the graffiti world for a very long time, and I just want to see if you give me your take on these two terms. One of them being capping, and the other one being toy.
I'm sorry, one being what?
One being capping, and the other one being toy.
Being cappy? Is
No,
that what you,
capping,
cappy? Like
capping,
Cappy?
CAPP. I mean CAPING, capping.
Oh, capping. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if you're going to cap somebody, leave your name. Um, Toy, I mean, Toy is a novice. It's a beginner, you know? Like, I was a Toy for 5 years, man. I mean, I look at my stuff now. That shit was whack. And, you know, I don't know any writer that started out as a king. You know, I don't even like that term king anymore because there's so many good writers, and that I feel like that term gets tossed around like it's nothing. But, you know, we all start out as toys, you know what I'm saying? But the key is to get out of that, you know, and elevate into being a writer, you know? And the only way that happened for me was by putting in work and practicing, you know? You said capping, right? Like to cross somebody out?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, that's been around. I'm sure if Cap from Star Wars wasn't in the movie, there would be somebody that would be capping. I mean, that's just kind of human nature. But, you know, you got to remember, man, we're doing stuff out on the streets. It's out in the public. It's, you know, once I leave that piece, it's really not my piece anymore. I mean, no, I don't want to get capped, but at the same time, you know, it's open to the elements, man. Nothing lasts forever.
Definitely. You're right about that. There's a question that I like to ask everybody that comes on KrylonTalk. I want to just ask, do you have a favorite sneaker when you're drawing or painting or working on art?
A favorite sneaker?
Yeah.
Man, I like those Nike jogging sneakers, man. You know,
The
I can't remember what the name is, but anything with good sole support, man. I mean, everything I own has paint on it, man. I have to have regular clothes and paint clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like my paint shorts, man, they're horrible. I walked into the store. I walked into a store today because I just got done painting about an hour ago, and they looked at me like, "Whoa," you know, because I look like a bum off the streets. But you know, I can't keep paint off anything, man. I swear to God, man. There's nothing that I have that does not have paint on it. It's impossible. Like, I'll tell you what's a real art is when I see these cats show up to the wall with these nice sneakers, rock a piece, and then not get any paint on their sneakers. Like, that's an art in itself. You know, I respect that, man.
That's a hard one right there. That's a hard one.
Man. I mean, I used to have a homie. He'd show up with white sneakers, and when he would leave, like there would be no paint splats on it. I'm like, damn. But you know, nevertheless, man. I mean, you know, anything with good soul support. Because I mean, you think about it when you're painting. You know, you're stationary for quite a while, and you're squatting and you're stretching. And so, yeah, man, you know, Nike, Adidas, you know, I usually get something with good soul support, you know, but I'm trying to remember which one I used today. But sorry, I couldn't tell you the type of shoe other than a good running shoe, something with good soul support. Yeah.
Is there something that you could possibly say to a new generation that's stepping in, or anyone that's maybe thinking about starting to paint graffiti? Is there anything you could say to them?
Don't do it. No. No. Save yourself a lot of pain. No, man. I would say, you know, the way I was brought into graffiti was, you know, you need to learn your history. You need to know that you're one person among many. You're part of a lineage, and there's people that have done many things before you. They have helped establish, you know, what there is already. And so you need to learn your history, you know, and that goes for New York, that goes for your own city, that goes for, you know, believe me, with the internet, there's no excuse. You can find a lot of information online. Before, it was really, you know, word of mouth. But I'd say learn your history. You know, focus on your style, and you know, don't be afraid of criticism, man. You know, like that's how you get better. I mean, I'm glad people called me out and told me, you know, that's not how you do it. I mean, I didn't have anyone holding my hand or anything, but what I'm saying is, you know, you got to learn your roots, man. I mean, you know, every city has its history. Every city has its history. And you got to give credit where credit's due. And that also goes for the older generation, you know. My hopes is that the older generation would be a little more extending their hand out to the younger generation to school them, you know. But at the same time, because I noticed in my city, there's a big divide between the older and the younger generation. And, you know, if we're going to keep this art form going, man, you know, we got to pass on the knowledge we have. But I would say learn your history, learn to burn, and shut up and paint. Stay out of the beef. Focus on the painting, you know?
I like that. Shut up and paint.
Yeah, man.
And your point of view, what do you think we will be seeing 2 generations from today with graffiti in the future? You think we'll be seeing, you know, a more mainstream, or you think we'll be at the same place we are today?
I don't think graffiti will ever go away. I really don't. I mean, people have been marking on surfaces since the beginning of time. And when it comes to the graffiti we're talking about, I see it being elevated to a whole new level. I mean, it's really crazy what people are doing, you know, even in street art, you know, the portrait painting and the graphic design murals and all that stuff. Like, it's all becoming a hybrid. You know what I'm saying? Like, it used to be, if you use spray paint, you did graffiti, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe you did stencils, but really you did graffiti. You were tagging or you were piecing. And now, you know, everybody's picking up a can, and you know, and it depends on how you want to look at that. But regardless, you know, the tools are available for people. So I see graffiti elevating to a whole new status. I mean, I don't think it's going to go away. I really don't. I think a lot of it might all kind of fuse together at some point. But at the same time, you know, like I said, it's up to the younger generation to carry the torch, but it's also up to the elders to kind of educate them also, you know. You know, I try to mentor. I mentor a couple younger writers, you know, but really what that means is just painting, you know.
Definitely, brother. Sometimes, you know, sometimes some people choose not to give their wisdom out, but it's good to know, like, people like yourself that don't mind the right person keep this going.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What's up, Size? That's my that's my boy Size. The internet also watered down with social media egos. That's true, straight up, you know. And that's another thing. I mean, I understand that social media is a big thing these days, and it's a platform to reach many people. But you know, you can't just post a piece and get 1,000 likes and think you're king and shit. You know, like I said, I mean, I just stay out of the beef. You know, that's been my best. I've been able to avoid a lot of drama by staying out of beef and focusing on just painting. You know, develop your style. Don't bite. If you're gonna bite, add your style to it and come up with a new style. And that's how things get elevated. You know.
Yeah, it's just
I mean,
crazy
we all know where certain styles come from. You know what I'm saying?
it's just crazy how before, like, if you really wanted to see a piece, like, you really had to go to where it's at. And now it's like you could just take a picture and the whole world will see it.
Yeah, and that's just the way it is. I mean, that's technology. And so, and drink lots of coffee. Yeah, yeah. He knows. But yeah, you know, but it is the way it is. You know, I mean, things evolve, and you know, it's really up to the practitioners of the art form to make it continue, man. I mean, I don't paint for the public, man, and I don't let a corporation speak for what I do. So, you know, you got to be true to yourself. You know, like I said, develop a style. You know, I was taught, you know, why do you want to be a carbon copy? You know, like, the whole point of graffiti is your style is your personality. You know, and learn letters, man. Learn hand styles. Learn bubble letters. Learn straight letters. Learn fonts. But because I don't care how much effects you put on a letter and a piece, if those letters are weak from the beginning, it's a weak piece. You got to have strong letters, you know, and that only comes through practice, like everything else.
Yeah, that's definitely something that's beautiful about graffiti. How it's your piece that defines you. You know, that
Yeah.
people look at. It doesn't matter what you look at, what color you are, where you come from. At the end of the day, it's your piece that speaks for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it is. And I mean, like I said, like, I'm never satisfied with what I paint. And I have a lot of new styles to learn and develop, and that's what keeps me going. I mean, you know, and I mean, like I said, I look at some of these younger cats, and I'm like, damn, where did you get that style? Like, wow, you know, it's really cool what's going on right now. I mean, you have regardless of older generation, younger generation, there's people that are putting in work and doing it right, man. You know, hitting the streets, hitting the freights, hitting the clean trains. You know, I don't see graffiti going away. I mean, during this pandemic, I just saw more graffiti, and I was just in LA like, I don't know, a week and a half ago, and it was crushed. I mean, I saw some really nice billboards. They'd be killing.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you out of? Are you out of LA? Or Southern
Yeah,
Cal?
I'm out here in the harbor area. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
the beach areas. Yeah,
Like
that's
San
where I'm at.
Pedro and all that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man, y'all be killing it out there, man. For
I'm from a
real.
city
LA.
I'm from a city called Dominguez out here in the harbor.
Word. I
Mhm.
mean, I'll tell you what, man, I travel a lot, and I'll travel when I can. And one thing I got to say about LA and Southern California is y'all be on some wild stuff, man. Like just really pioneering a lot of styles. And, you know, I always get pumped when I'm out there because you got to bring it. You got to bring it. And that's graffiti, you know. I mean, why do you want to go somewhere and paint a whack piece? You know what I'm saying? It's just, like I said, your piece. Yeah, Saute does crush it out there. I saw some of his pieces. It's kind of hard to talk and read all these comments at the same time. But no, mad respect to y'all out there. I mean, you know, it's really cool to see where graffiti's at these days, you know.
Before I let you go, then now that you mentioned a little bit more about traveling, is there something that you've seen while out there traveling, painting, that somebody using to paint graffiti that you were kind of like stoked about? Like, oh wow, I didn't know they use this type of stuff to paint.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, um, there's a Europe. I mean, when I was in Europe, man, I was like, I don't know what the hell they're on, man. They doing some crazy stuff. Um, but definitely Bay Area and LA, you know, a lot of, you know, my boy Jabber, he loves that roller paint, you know.
Yeah,
It saves money, it saves time, and you know, that's one thing I you know, that old saying, like, you know, if you want to learn something, man, go travel, go meet people, go network, you know, get out of your city, man. It's a big world out there, and there's a lot of good artists, you know, and I met some really good people traveling, and these days that's really where I get juiced up, you know. I mean, you know, I got some cats here I paint with, and they inspire me, but at the same time, you know, traveling to other cities and meeting other writers and other artists and painting with them and networking and picking up new techniques here and there, you know. I mean, there's good writers everywhere. You just got to go find them, you know.
yeah, man, definitely. And again, brother, I really want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today and give you a time out of your busy schedule to hop on KrylonTalk. And
Hey.
hope to meet you once we finish this COVID-19 stuff.
Yeah, man,
Hopefully
I'll
we
be
can.
back out there. I'll be back. I'll hit you up, man. I was actually in San Pedro a couple weeks ago. I went by Machine Studio,
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah,
I
Bo
go there a
Black,
lot.
man. That's good people right there.
Yeah. Shout out Machine
Yeah. That's
Studio.
good people, man. That's good people. But no, man, keep doing your thing. You know, props. I appreciate the opportunity. I think it's a good thing what you're doing, man. And you know, keep the torch alive, brother.
Thank you, brother. See you soon.
Peace.
Peace.